for at least 20 minutes. I'll be reading the introduction to Essays in Philosophy and Jurisprudence by H.L.A. Hart, one of my inspirations. Last year I read The Concept of Law, this year I read Law, Liberty, and Morality, and now I'm reading his essays. He's brilliant, and his works take me hours. I'll just sit down and immerse myself in them, sometimes 8 hours just diving in and just enjoying what he has to say. When I read Hart, it's not even about it's as much about what he's saying as it is how he says it. I feel like I can just go into his mind. He's one of those people I'm grateful did right. Thank you for leaving us that legacy, Hart. He's brilliant. I love Hart. Okay, so I'll start. Introduction. The 17 essays collected here were written over a period of 28 years, between 1953 and 1981, and cover a collection of a wide range of topics. I have arranged 16 of them in more. I may read really fast here, but yeah. I have arranged 16 of them in more or less distinct groups, roughly labeled as follows. 1, general theory, American jurisprudence, Scandinavian jurisprudence. 4, liberty, utility, and rights. 5, 4 legal theorists. Last essay included here, essay 17, the House of Lords in attempting an impossible stand apart from the rest, since it deals not with any recognized philosophical jurisprudential issue, but with what was, until elimination by statute in 1981, a particular doctrine of English criminal law. My justification for including it here is that it brings a distinction established in modern philosophical semantics to the solution or dissolution of a perplexity concerning the notion of an attempt, which has long plagued lawyers on both sides of the Atlantic. I hope that my use of philosophy in this last essay supports the belief on which I have acted in most of my work, that if there is, I love using this slide when I read. I don't know, I'm always, at least when I read The Concept of Law, I always wear this. I hope it won't affect the video. It almost certainly will though. Let's see. I'll use just one. Okay. Go in now. Okay. Okay. I hope that my use of philosophy in this last essay supports the belief on which I have acted in most of my work, that if there is some philosophical point which can clarify or settle issues which non-philosophers have found problematic, it is always possible simultaneously to expound for them the philosophical point and to use it for that purpose. And his method. Anyway, in the course of the years during which these essays were written, some of my views have changed. Though I still adhere to the central themes for which I argue in these essays, there are certain points which I now think, where I think I was mistaken, others which I failed to relate to important wider issues, or presented in an oversimplified or confused form. I have learned much during this period from my many critics, some of whom including Professor Dorkin, Dr. Raz, and Dr. Fides, the naturalist. What did Hart learn from him? I tried reading Finis and I wasn't very inspired. Was he being humble? No, I'm kidding. Finis is prominent. And the late Professor Lon Fuller have produced theories of their own, in which my works are taken as a principal target. Yes, especially Dorkin. I have also learned much during the period covered by those essays from later developments in philosophy. Thus, to take one example, which I discuss further below, had I commanded at the time of writing Essay 1 in 1953 the seminal distinction between the meaning and the force of utterances, and the theory of speech acts, the foundation of which were laid by J.L. Austin, I should not have claimed the statements of legal rights and duties were not descriptive, or have suggested, as I did by calling them conclusions of law, and quote the tail ends of legal calculations, that such statements were always put forward as inferences drawn by their authors. I have, however, notwithstanding recognition of errors in these essays, left the text untouched, while adding to most of them a postscript referring the reader to the most important criticisms which they have attracted, or to opposed views. Perhaps the following observations, which I hope are not excessively autobiographical, will sufficiently indicate and explain the character and degree of error. As I now, please ignore these literal flying friends coming around the light. I hope will sufficiently indicate and explain the character and degree of error, as I now retrospectively see it in these essays. In 1953, when I was elected to the chair of jurisprudence at Oxford, my qualifications were unorthodox. I had no law degree, but for 8 years before the war, I had practiced as a chancery barrister, and for 7 years after the war, I had taught philosophy at Oxford. Those 7 years fell within the period when the approach to philosophy, which became known as linguistic philosophy, was most influential in Oxford and Cambridge. There were important differences of emphasis and aim between the Oxford variant of this philosophy, where J.L. Austin was its leading exponent, and the Cambridge variant, which flourished under Wittgenstein. Hey, I knew it. I feel like I should end this here because I knew it. Anyways, I heard him say it, but still, I knew it. Wittgenstein's written all over him. Okay. Nonetheless, both were inspired by the recognition of the great variety of types of human discourse and meaningful communication. And with this recognition, there went a conviction that long-standing philosophical. You know what? I don't think I could read this here. I need to take this in. Sorry, but yeah, thanks.